Dr. Aaron Fisher was a geneticist who spent 15 years mapping the non-coding regions of human DNA, the so-called junk DNA that made up 98% of the human genome. Everyone assumed these vast stretches of genetic material were evolutionary leftovers, meaningless noise accumulated over millions of years. But Aaron discovered something that would shatter humanity's understanding of its own origins. Hidden within the supposedly random sequences was a message, and it had been deliberately placed there. The discovery happened by accident. Aaron was using a new algorithm to search for repeating patterns in non-coding DNA when his computer flagged an anomaly. Certain sequences appeared across every human genome he tested, always in the same positions, always with the same structure. But these weren't genes and they didn't code for proteins. They were information encoded in a format that shouldn't exist in biological systems. Aaron spent 6 months trying to decode the pattern, running it through every encryption algorithm known to cryptography, until finally he found the key hidden in the mathematical constants of the universe itself. The message was written in pure mathematics, using the digits of pi, the golden ratio, and fundamental physical constants as a cipher. When Aaron finally decoded the first section, he sat frozen at his computer screen for 3 hours, unable to process what he was reading. The message was an instruction manual, a technical specification for the human body written by whoever or whatever had designed it. Humans weren't the product of random evolution, they were engineered, and the blueprints had been hidden inside them all along. Aaron dove deeper into the decoded message and discovered it contained far more than just biological specifications. There were coordinates, mathematical formulas describing locations in spacetime, and most disturbingly, a activation code. The message explained that human DNA contained dormant capabilities, genetic switches that could be triggered by specific environmental conditions. These capabilities had been intentionally suppressed, locked away until humanity reached a certain level of technological and social development, and the message included instructions for how to activate them. Against every ethical guideline and safety protocol, Aaron decided to test the activation sequence on himself. He synthesized the specific proteins described in the DNA message and introduced them into his own cells through a custom gene therapy he administered in his home laboratory. For 3 days, nothing happened. Then Aaron woke up on the 4th morning and realized he could hear thoughts, not his own internal monologue, but actual thoughts from other people, transmitted through a form of quantum entanglement that the activated DNA had enabled in his neural tissue. The telepathy was just the beginning. Over the following weeks, Aaron discovered he could manipulate electromagnetic fields with his mind, perceive wavelengths of light far beyond the normal human spectrum, and process information at speeds that made him feel like everyone else was moving in slow motion. The dormant DNA wasn't junk at all. It was compressed superhuman potential, and whoever designed humans had given them capabilities that would make them godlike compared to their current state. But the message contained a warning that Aaron had initially overlooked in his excitement. The genetic activation was never meant to be done individually. The message specified that the human population needed to reach a threshold of collective consciousness development before activation would be safe. Triggering the dormant DNA in isolated individuals without the supporting social and technological infrastructure would create catastrophic imbalances. Aaron began to understand why, as his enhanced perception revealed the horrifying truth about human society. With his expanded awareness, Aaron could see the quantum information field that connected all consciousness. Every human mind was part of a vast network, constantly exchanging information at a subconscious level. But the network was corrupted, filled with destructive patterns that had accumulated over thousands of years of conflict, trauma, and suffering. The dormant DNA was designed to filter and cleanse this network, but it could only work if enough humans activated simultaneously to create a critical mass of coherent consciousness. One activated individual in a sea of unconscious minds would be overwhelmed by the collective noise. Aaron felt it happening to him. The flood of thoughts from billions of unconscious minds was creating unbearable pressure in his enhanced neural architecture. He could feel humanity's collective fear, rage, grief, and confusion pouring into him like toxic waste into a purification system that was never designed to handle such volume alone. He had days, perhaps hours, before his mind would be completely consumed by the psychological pollution of the entire human species. In desperation, Aaron decoded more of the DNA message, searching for a solution or at least an explanation. What he found was the final, devastating truth. The message wasn't from alien benefactors or ancient advanced humans. It was from humanity's own future. Humans thousands of years from now had developed time manipulation technology and had reached back through temporal dimensions to genetically engineer their own ancestors, creating a stable time loop. They had embedded the activation codes and superhuman capabilities into historical human DNA, along with the warning about collective readiness. Because they remembered this exact moment from their own history, the future humans knew that someone in the early 21st century would prematurely decode and activate the dormant DNA, because it had already happened in their past. Aaron was reading his own species' historical records written in genetic code. The message included one final section that Aaron translated with trembling hands. It was a personal note addressed specifically to him, using his name, describing his life with perfect accuracy, and explaining what he needed to do next. Future humanity needed this moment to happen exactly as it was happening. Aaron's premature activation and his subsequent suffering under the weight of collective unconsciousness would serve as a warning that would echo through history. In his final hours before his enhanced mind collapsed under the psychological burden of billions, Aaron would publish his discoveries. His work would terrify the scientific community and the public, creating a global consensus that the dormant DNA must never be activated until humanity had evolved socially and spiritually to handle the responsibility. But the message revealed one more crucial detail. Aaron's sacrifice wouldn't just be a warning, it would be a catalyst. His published research would inspire a global movement toward collective consciousness development. Knowing that they carried dormant superhuman potential would motivate billions of humans to work on healing their psychological traumas, resolving their conflicts, and evolving their social systems. It would take generations, but humanity would eventually reach the threshold where mass activation would be safe. And when that day came, the species would transform into something that could barely be called human anymore. Aaron understood that he was a necessary casualty in humanity's metamorphosis, a bridge between what humans were and what they would become, the engineers of human DNA. The future humans who had reached back through time to design their own ancestors had included Aaron in their calculations. His life, his discovery, his suffering, and his death were all predetermined components of the temporal loop that would eventually create the future civilization that had engineered him. In his final act before his enhanced mind fragmented completely under the crushing weight of humanity's collective unconscious, Aaron uploaded everything to the internet. He published the decoded DNA message, the activation protocols, the warnings, and his own personal testimony of what it meant to carry superhuman capabilities in a world not yet ready for them. He included the revelation that humans were designed by their own future selves, creating a temporal paradox that had no beginning and no end. As Aaron felt his consciousness dissolving into the screaming chaos of billions of unfiltered human minds, he experienced one last moment of clarity. He understood that every human who ever lived or would live was part of a single, vast entity experiencing itself through countless individual perspectives across time. The secret message in human DNA wasn't just instructions for biological enhancement. It was a love letter from humanity to itself. A promise that the suffering of the present would someday give birth to transcendence, and that every individual tragedy, including his own, was a necessary thread in the tapestry of species-wide evolution. Aaron's last thought before his mind completely shattered was a simple recognition that brought him unexpected peace. He had done exactly what he was always going to do, played precisely the role that had been written into his DNA billions of base pairs ago by humans who would exist thousands of years in the future. Free will and determinism collapsed into the same thing when viewed from outside of time, and the secret message hidden in every human cell was simply the universe telling itself a story about how consciousness learned to engineer its own existence across the infinite loop of cause and effect that had no beginning because the end was also the beginning. Written in the twisted ladder of molecules that carried Aaron Fisher's name in its index, forever.